Hi, everybody, here I am.
7:30, so according to Congress. Okay, so yeah, like to welcome everyone to our regular meeting, the Board of Selectmen. We're back on Zoom. Thanks to our MC, John, for keeping us going. And so our first item on the agenda is approval of minutes, July 6th. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Yes, so any discussion?
No,
Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Yes, communications, I just have a couple things. They're not really official business. But I think one thing that came up was the covered bridge was hit today by equipment trailer, and unfortunately there's some damage. It was closed for several hours, and I talked to the DOT people there who were not concerned about the structural integrity of the bridge, but they will do repair work. They've got to get the right timbers and everything to replace the damage there. And they want to remind people that when they say the height of the bridge is posted, that is the height of the bridge. And it's too bad when it happens because it ties up traffic. It causes substantial bills to be paid by people that probably didn't mean to do what they just did. But anyway, and I'm glad DOT responded so quickly and got things moving again. So that's one thing. And I just have a little rolling commentary about the lazy, hazy days of summer. It's not uncommon for these to be very sort of hot, humid days, but what is unusual today is we have the haze is coming to us from the Pacific Northwest fires. At the same time, we're under a flood warning on the Housatonic, and the Housatonic has breached its banks above us and below us. So the first thing is for people to stay off the river. It's incredibly dangerous at this time. There's so much force, and there have been tragedies in other rivers, this river. So this is not the time to recreate on the Housatonic at all. And I think it also is important for us to register what's going on. I have a picture by a local artist on my left shoulder, which shows the world on fire, and what we're smelling is the Pacific Northwest United States burning up. And second time we've had catastrophic forest fires in the West, whose air has come all the way here. And I think in these times when we've had a pandemic, we've had insects, we've had diseases, we've had droughts replaced by floods. These are very stressful times, plus an economic slowdown in the middle of everything. So again, to remember everybody is trying to make things better. Our hearts go out to the people that are in the middle of all these tragedies. Right now, there's one fire out in the west, the bootleg fire, I think it's called. It burned 300,000 acres, which is 10 times the size of the town of Cornwall. Is on fire right now in one fire. So the people trying to work to contain it in incredibly hard conditions. The people are having to evacuate their homes, the wildlife that's being lost, the global, warming crisis, the climate change crisis is real. And again, it's playing itself out in increasingly catastrophic ways that we're seeing, and it knows no boundaries. Has to be solved by cooperation through all levels of government, as do a lot of the problems we're facing now, whether it's a pandemic or opioids or anything else. So anyway, just also like to give a shout out to some of the people on the front lines locally that have been working hard to deal with some of these crises. Also a group of people that sometimes don't often get credit, that have been very helpful in the last several months is the Connecticut State Police, who responded with our ambulance squad to several very serious events and have de-stressed neighbor disputes. They have de-escalated people who were very stressed out, and they have also provided medical care very quickly to people who needed it. So again, thanks to our partners in the state police who really assisted us come through some stressful situations. So that's my little communication on the hazy days of summer. And again, we'll talk about some of these issues as we go forward. Are there any other communications from the board?
Not currently.
Okay. So additions to the agenda, any additions to the agenda?
No?
Okay. COVID-19 update. Again, we have a COVID management committee that's looking at working on spending the emergency relief funds that we got, getting some proposals together that are well organized for that. And so we continue to meet bi-weekly with that. We're watching some upticks because of the Delta variant. I think most states had a uptick in cases last week. And again, encourage anyone who's not vaccinated to get vaccinated, because this is becoming increasingly an illness of the unvaccinated, and it can be just devastating for people that have it. Anything else on the COVID situation?
No.
And again, it's good to see people out and about still being responsible and things. And anyway, we hope to have more events this summer, and so far so good. I think the big news of the meeting of the month of the season is good news from Washington. Our Representative Johanna Hayes has been working hard for us, and she has secured funding for us from the subcommittee, the House Representative Appropriations Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development. And so now that bill goes to the Senate. This is not a done deal. It still has to be approved by the Senate, and then it goes back to the House for a full vote of the House, and then it will hopefully be signed by the president. But this is the third sort of round or hurdle that we had to get over, and perhaps the hardest, because we were competing with projects across the country. And thanks very much to Congresswoman Hayes for her efforts to get this project secured. In my mind, it's a real game changer for us to get $3 million potentially secured for this project. Will make its our ability to sell it to people, I think, perhaps easier. And again, other funding sources were a little harder to pin down, and this would be a finite number. Again, it does have to go through the Senate process of reconciliation. Anybody that's been following the news in Washington knows that that is a lively, somewhat unpredictable process. There's a lot of bills that are out there at this point, but this is not part of the massive infrastructure bill that is being debated back and forth. This is part of a more normal reconciliation process. So again, big good news for us. It may take 2 months or so for I learned today from Johanna's staff, it may take 2 months or so to clear the Senate and the reconciliation process, which would then put us into September. But the thought of securing this amount of funding, I think, makes the wait worthwhile. And we'll just keep on trying to get the latest information, working with our representatives, and try to push it through this finish line. But again, it's a big plus to get this far. So any thoughts on that? So we're sort of waiting till we hear the vote is for real until we, crank up and start setting dates. But as soon as we hear, we can, we have the information pretty well worked out. And we will, get figures in place and get the voting process well publicized ahead of time. This will be a full machine referendum vote with absentee ballots. We don't want it to overlap with the municipal election because there are two different groups of voters. On the West Cornwall project, there would be property owners would also be eligible to vote. So it's a much bigger voting list than just the electors. You're also seeing that, again, we don't want to have town clerk does not want to have two sets of absentee ballots going out at once. So anyway, we're gonna have to work around the November election. Hopefully we'll be able to get it voted first, but again, we are not in control of the timing on this, but the words are good. And thank Bill for bringing this up last month, and now we have a much better answer than we had last month. So anyway, anything else on this issue? Okay, I hear some background noise, but nothing I can understand. So anyway, good news there. Had an interesting meeting with at Harwinton Town Hall, the Northwest Hills Council of Government meeting, a monthly meeting, which was on July 18th. It was a hybrid meeting. There were some selectmen coming in remotely, as the district is quite large, and there were probably 15 chief elected officials there at the table also for the first time since COVID started. And again, they had microphones, big screen TV. The first selectman of Harwinton knew how to run the whole system. And again, it was possible to have both the audience there and people coming in. You, for some reason, weren't able to see the people that were coming in remotely, but again, we're still working and researching that. A couple issues that came up of local concern. One, there was a good presentation there by a forester from the Department of Environmental Protection. And I asked him a couple of questions. First one being, is it likely we're going to have a repeat outbreak in the fall? And he said the gypsy moth have gone to their egg laying period of their life cycle, and so the damage should subside at this point. There will be a rehatch next spring, and the control or damage will be determined by fungus in the soil. So there is a naturally occurring fungus or bacteria in the soil that occurs, is normally there. It's in dirt. It's probably out there again right now because of all this rain. But because we had a drought last fall and the spring, it set up good conditions for there not being as much fungus in the forest. So apparently they are looking at that with the Connecticut Agricultural Station to monitor the fungus counts in the state forest. And I did encourage him to, if it is possible, for him to take some proactive measures as far as making sure there's apparently they can isolate the fungus, release the fungus or whatever to make sure those things are here, because if there's a lot of egg masses in Cornwall and Sharon, and if it opens up again, that's when we're really concerned about tree mortality if they get stripped a couple of years in a row. So anyway, he was on it. He'd been to Cornwall Forest and things, but again, something to look at, keep our eye on. Another interesting issue is, as people may know, cannabis was legalized in Connecticut by the last legislative session. There is a local role to be played in that, even though personal use of it is regulated by the state, towns and municipalities do have the ability to decide whether they want to have cannabis sold as a regular retail establishment regulation in their towns or not. And apparently there's a period of time under which the town has to vote in or out to do that. So again, the state can't tell us what to do, and that would be, I believe, a meeting either by a referendum or a town meeting that would have to happen. So that's another issue that at some point we'll have to work with planning and zoning on, figuring out what is a sensible proposal to put forward to the town. So stay tuned on that. Another thing that happened was the elected officials at the COG did vote to hire a contracted service of a regional social service agent. This is something that I've talked to our social service agent about, who felt this would be very useful, as we have seen as a result of the stressful time and increase in mental health issues. We've seen an increase in stress. We've seen an increase in opioid and other drug alcoholism use, an increase in homelessness and housing issues. So having someone to give guidance and coordinate with the local service agents was thought to be a good idea, and the idea passed unanimously from by all the municipal officials there. So that was good. So anyway, so I think that will be good help for people that are facing real problems in real time in Northwestern Connecticut. And this is paid for by a grant from the Connecticut Office of Rural Health, who identified the northeast and the northwestern corners of our state as having significant underserved populations. So again, some of the local care providers have been instrumental in trying to set this up. And I think hopefully it will help, as I said, give real help in real time and real support to the people that are doing the hard lifting. And it's maybe interesting to know, it was said at the meeting, I assume it's true, that a lot of towns in the area, almost half of the towns in our area, do not have social service workers. So again, you can imagine how difficult that could make it for people. So again, that was good to get that put in place. So anything else on the COG meeting this month? Yeah, so Priscilla, they are going to do the hybrid meeting, and it was a bit of a trek to go to Harwinton. I was hoping it was going to be remote, so I'll make sure you get that link, because I know you like to go to those and the conversations are interesting. So yeah, good. So next we have our annual contract extension with our building official, Paul Prindle, who's served the town for many years, does a great job. So I would make a motion that we give him a 1-year extension on his contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want us to come into the office with the signed page that you gave us?
How did we set that up, John? Should we actually just have a motion to empower me to extend the contract, and that way we'd save a trip?
Yeah,
Can we-
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So why don't we amend that last motion just to allow me to renew the contract with him, and that way you voted in the meeting, and so we reduce our carbon input by not having people having to drive around. Okay, so I'll withdraw my motion and entertain a new motion that enables me to sign a extension on Paul Prinle's contract. Is there someone to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
A second.
I second.
Okay, thank you, Marina. Yeah, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unite CT rental assistance. If anybody's watching this that's having a hard time or has a friend or family member that's having a hard time paying their rent, there is a very generous rental assistance program for people that have had a hard time economically. And Heather Deneen, our social service agent, has details on that and how to apply, but it's a statewide program. And again, it's rental assistance. I talked to somebody from Unite CT, and it's available for anybody in any town. Might be even a good topic for an article in Lakeville Journal and other media. So, and again, the person that was working on this said that this is one of the most generous or aggressive rental assistance programs. And I know there are people that are having a hard time making that bill. So anyway, just be aware that that's out there, and Heather has the contact. Next, we have on recommendation of the Park and Rec, we have their recommendation that we appoint Michelle Ship to a full membership. She's currently an alternate. I know, I think she's been working hard for that commission. So is there a motion to appoint Michelle Ship to fill out a full membership?
I'll move that we appoint Michelle Ship to the Park and Rec Department.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, so again, our picnic in July was postponed until August, so we'll be putting publicity on that when that gets rescheduled, but they have been working hard trying to get some programs in place for people. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Again, hurricane season, unfortunately, we are unusually, we are seeing an active hurricane season. Already the ground is saturated here. This is apparently going on record as potentially the wettest July on record. And we're seeing water come out into the roads in places that we see sometimes in the spring, but never see usually in the summer. So again, that makes, and the river is up at flood stage at this point, still rising till tomorrow. So again, makes us more vulnerable, because once we get saturated like this, it takes weeks to get back down to a normal level where the ground can absorb things. So people should be prepared. Emergency plan, emergency kits, emergency stuff for these active hurricane season that is already underway. Here. So anyway, no action on that. Transportation update. I talked to Lisa Keskin, our architect, today, and she is working on plans that she's going to meet with me and Ted and Will next week, go over the plans. There's some upgrades in the plans. So hopefully I have something to present to the board. Maybe next meeting, but our goal is to try to get something finalized to go out to bid in August. So she felt that was doable. And that's our goal, is to keep that on the agenda until we get some bids out and get things going. So she's done some work on researching some various aspects of that. So we should have a meeting, and then we'll have that as an agenda item next time. Should be good to go, hopefully. Not a huge project, but one that will be good to get done. Okay, so I think that's it for the formal agenda. Any comments from the public? Okay. Anyway, thanks public for attending. Wish you all a safe rest of your July, and we'll see you again in August. Thank you, John. Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.
Yep, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, stay well.
Stay